We like to think we've got the universe pretty much figured out. We've got these beautiful theories, telescopes that can see to the edge of time, and a standard model that, well, it seems to explain almost everything. But what if that whole understanding has some deep, fundamental cracks? Today, we are diving headfirst into the weird stuff, the cosmic anomalies. These are the objects, the structures, and the forces that, according to our own rulebook, simply should not exist.
So let's just start with a question that gets right to the heart of it all. What if the laws of physics, all those things we think are so solid and dependable, what if they're not really laws at all? What if they're more like suggestions? Because it sure seems like the universe is breaking them all the time.
And our first stop on this tour of the impossible is a direct attack on our most basic concept, time itself. We're going to look at things out there in the cosmos that seem to completely defy the timeline of our universe.
Okay, get this. Our best, most precise calculations tell us the universe is 13.8 billion years old. Period. But then there's this star, nicknamed the Methuselah star, and its estimated age is 14.46 billion years old. Now, this isn't some tiny rounding error, it's a flat-out paradox. We're looking at a star that appears to have been shining before the Big Bang even happened.
I mean, the problem is just basic, undeniable logic, right? A child cannot be born before its mother. Nothing in the universe can be older than the universe itself. Now, scientists have twisted themselves into knots trying to fix this. They've recalculated, they've added huge margins of error, but the paradox just won't go away. This one star makes us question everything, either how stars work or the very age of the cosmos.
And believe me, it is not just one old star. Just recently, the James Webb Telescope stared back into the cosmic dawn, to a time just 500 million years after the Big Bang. Now, it was expecting to see, messy little baby galaxies just starting to form. Instead, it found 6 fully grown monsters, galaxies as massive and mature as our own Milky Way, already existing when the universe was less than 3% of its current age.
This quote from one of the scientists just says it all perfectly. Our models say there just wasn't enough time or even enough stuff for galaxies this huge to form so fast. It would be like planting an acorn and finding a giant 100-foot oak tree just 5 minutes later. These things have been nicknamed universe breakers for a reason. They suggest our entire timeline of how the cosmos grew up is fundamentally wrong. So, we've got objects that break the timeline. But what happens when we zoom out? Way out. Well, the next level of weird involves structures so enormous, they challenge the very layout of the cosmos.
So there's this bedrock idea in physics called the cosmological principle. And it basically says that if you zoom out far enough, the universe should look pretty much the same everywhere. All the matter should be spread out evenly, kind of like butter on toast. There shouldn't be any giant clumps or massive empty spots. It should just be smooth. Yeah, well, that principle is completely broken. Physics says no structure should be bigger than about 1.2 billion light-years across. Why? Because there just hasn't been enough time since the Big Bang for gravity to pull anything larger together. And yet we have the Hercules Corona Borealis Great Wall. It's a gigantic string of galaxies that is 10 billion light-years long. That's not just a little bigger, it's almost 10 times the legal limit. It covers a tenth of the entire observable universe. It simply shouldn't be there. But impossible structures don't just have to be big. Sometimes you're just bizarre. Meet Tabby's star. Look, when a giant planet like Jupiter passes in front of its star, it blocks maybe 1% of the light. But whatever is orbiting Tabby's star made the light drop by a jaw-dropping 22%. That is not a planet. And what's weirder, the dimming is totally random and irregular. So all the usual suspects like dust clouds or a swarm of comets, they just don't fit the data. And this, of course, leads to the really wild, forbidden idea. Could we be looking at an alien megastructure being built? Something like a Dyson sphere designed to capture all of a star's energy. Now look, it's a huge leap, for sure. But the weird, chunky, irregular way the light is being blocked, it's kind of exactly what you'd expect to see from a massive, unfinished construction project. And it remains one of the only ideas that actually fits the very strange facts. Okay, impossible objects, impossible structures. You think that's enough, right? Let's kick the mystery up another notch and talk about things that suggest the fundamental forces running our universe are not at all what we think they are.
We all know the universe is expanding. Everything's generally moving away from everything else. But then astronomers found the dark flow. They discovered hundreds of huge galaxy clusters, all streaming in the exact same direction at a blistering 2 million miles per hour. This isn't just expansion. Something is pulling them. And here's the really unsettling part. The source of that pull appears to be located outside the edge of our observable universe.
And that forces us to ask this absolutely chilling question. It means our universe might not be alone. That something enormous, some kind of monster in the dark, just beyond what we can ever hope to see, is pulling on the very fabric of our reality, dragging our entire cosmic neighborhood towards it. Now, we're going to talk about what might just be the single biggest failure in the history of physics. It starts with this. Quantum theory tells us that empty space isn't really empty. It's actually buzzing and fizzing with tiny virtual particles popping in and out of existence. This creates a kind of background energy called vacuum energy. Okay, so that's the theory. Then we have the other side of the coin, reality. We can actually go out and measure the real-world effect of this vacuum energy by observing how fast the universe is expanding. So we've got a prediction from theory, and we've got an actual observation from cosmology. They should match up, right?
Nope, not even close. They don't just not match, it's the worst prediction ever made. The number our theory predicts for the energy of empty space is off by a factor of 1 with 120 zeros after it. This number is so fantastically, mind-bogglingly huge, it has no meaning in the real world. To be wrong by this much is to be more wrong than anything has ever been wrong before.
And that's why they call it the vacuum catastrophe. This quote really says it all. What it means is that our two greatest achievements in physics, quantum mechanics, which describes the very small, and general relativity, which describes the very large, are completely and profoundly incompatible. They don't work together. In fact, based on the numbers our best theories give us, the universe should have torn itself to shreds moments after the Big Bang. So far, all of these anomalies have been out there. They're stars, galaxies, mysterious forces in the dark. But the final paradox, the most profound and maybe the most terrifying anomaly of all, it's a lot closer to home. Actually, it's about you.
Okay, just follow the logic on this because it gets pretty wild. A fundamental rule of physics is that nature always prefers chaos and disorder over structure and order. That makes our highly ordered, incredibly complex universe a statistical miracle. It's just ridiculously unlikely. So what's more likely to happen? Well, according to the math, it is exponentially more probable for a single conscious brain to just randomly pop into existence out of the chaos than for this entire universe to form around it. It's called a Boltzmann brain, and it would be born fully formed, complete with a lifetime of fake memories. Memories of a family, friends, and even of watching this very explainer. Seriously, think about what that means. The pure math of physics suggests that it is far more likely that you are a momentary flicker of consciousness, a brain that just formed a second ago, hallucinating this entire existence, and that you'll dissolve back into chaos a second from now. The greatest cosmic anomaly of all might just be the fact that we're even here, observing a universe that feels real and orderly, when the laws of physics themselves are whispering that it probably isn't. And that, well, that might just be the most unsettling thought of all.